Are you dreading an upcoming stressful event? Maybe it's a big presentation, a difficult conversation, a job interview, or an upcoming doctor's appointment. How do you deal with it? Like most, do you intend to tough it out and hope for the best? Unfortunately, that's not always the best approach. The truth is that proactive calm is a skill that you learn and doesn't come naturally. In this video, I'll share 8 proven strategies to help you stay calm when you know that the stress is coming. Now, you might be thinking, what's wrong with powering through stress? After all, it often works, right? I used to think so too, until a personal experience changed how I approached it. About a decade ago, I was getting ready to take GMAT exam. Unfortunately, the night before the test, I was a complete wreck. I just couldn't sleep. My mind was racing, and I was convinced I was going to fail. I tried to tough it out, but the next morning, my anxiety was through the roof. Needless to say, I stumbled through the test and performed terribly. It was frustrating. I had prepared for months and knew I could have done much better if only I knew how to hold my nerves. Determined to do better, I retook the test, but it happened again. In fact, I performed worse. Clearly, willpower alone wasn't enough. I needed a different approach, a system for building calm. In this video, I will share effective frameworks to do just that. So stick around. Chapter 1: Mental Preparation and Cognitive Control. Imagine the skyscraper. Its stability depends on a solid foundation that helps it withstand any storm. Similarly, robust mental preparation is that foundation that helps you withstand stress and the storm of emotions. As Marcus Aurelius once said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This chapter digs deep into 4 frameworks that will prepare your mind, prioritize your thoughts, and integrate them into your systems of calm. Framework 1: Mental Rehearsal. Ever wished you could have a do-over for an upcoming stressful situation? The mental rehearsal framework helps you do just that. It is a tool for you to practice and refine your responses to the stressful event beforehand. This allows you to stay calm in anticipation of any stressful event. Think of it as having a cheat sheet for your brain that allows you to think more clearly when you're under pressure. It is effective because it frees up mental space during the actual situation. Think of your mental rehearsal as building a layered defense against stress by focusing on the following elements. First, composure. Visualize yourself maintaining composure and make it your primary focus. For example, in a presentation, this means seeing yourself standing confidently and speaking clearly throughout. Second, anticipating challenges. Prepare for potential obstacles and visualize yourself handling them calmly. In the presentation example, this includes visualizing yourself pausing, taking a breath, and answering a tough question from the audience without losing your composure. Third, minor distractions. Acknowledge potential distractions in your visualization, but don't let them disrupt your calm. For the presentation, this could involve visualizing yourself continuing smoothly despite a technical glitch or audience noise. Now that you understand how to structure your mental rehearsal, let's break down the practical steps to master this powerful technique. Step 1. Identify the cue. Identify the specific event or situation that triggers your anxiety and makes it difficult to stay calm. In our presentation example, it may be the moment you step on stage or the Q&A session. For me, it was always the Q&A. My heart would start racing whenever I pictured the audience's faces asking difficult questions. Step 2. Engage all senses. Now close your eyes and immerse yourself in the scenario. Visualize, what do you see? Maybe you see the room, the audience, the presentation slides. Visualize, what do you hear? Maybe it's the projector humming, the paper rustling. Similarly, what do you feel? Is it the weight of the microphone, or maybe it's the slight tremor in your hands? Also, visualize what you smell. Maybe it's the sharp scent of antiseptic in the waiting room. Step 3. Visualize the response. Next, picture yourself handling the situation with complete poise. If Q&A is what stresses you out, then imagine yourself handling it like a champ. See yourself maintaining eye contact, using calm gestures, and projecting an aura of assurance. Step 4. Practice consistently. This step is the key to making it stick. Schedule time each day to practice your mental rehearsal. Even 5 minutes of focused visualization can make a significant difference. Even with these steps, you might encounter challenges in mastering mental rehearsal. One challenge I've experienced is that mental rehearsal can feel artificial at first. You might think, this isn't real, how can it help? I remember feeling this way. The trick is to treat it like any other skill. Remember, practice builds proficiency. Start with short sessions and gradually increase the duration. Whenever your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the scene. Don't judge yourself. Just refocus. Another common hurdle is doubting the effectiveness of visualization. You might think just imagining it won't change anything, but research shows that mental rehearsal activates the same neural pathways as physical practice. Remember that by consistently visualizing success, you're essentially training your brain to respond calmly and confidently in stressful situations. Now, mental rehearsal equips you to handle stress by visualizing the ideal outcome. However, surprises still happen. The next framework helps tackle that. Framework 2. Pre-Mortem analysis. It is a powerful framework for anticipating potential problems before they happen. It's a proactive approach to identifying potential stressors and developing contingency plans. Think of pre-mortem analysis as a reverse engineering of failure, where you proactively imagine things and events going wrong. This allows you to step into the future to analyze what went wrong and then come back to the present, armed with the knowledge to prevent that outcome. Here are the practical steps to master this powerful technique and integrate it into your stress management toolkit. Step 1. Imagine the failure. Start by imagining that the event you're anticipating has been a complete disaster. Instead of holding back, let your imagination run wild. Paint a detailed picture of the worst-case scenario. Think of what does it look like? What does it feel like? What are the specific consequences? For me, this was particularly helpful when planning college events. I would picture the worst-case scenario, no one showing up, the venue being a mess, and the overall atmosphere being one of disappointment and chaos. I would imagine the awkward silences, the frustrated guests, and the feeling of utter failure. Step 2. Identify the causes. Now brainstorm the possible causes of failure with specificity and detail. Consider every potential issue, no matter how unlikely it might seem. Explore every potential cause of failure in depth. Going back to the event planning example, this meant listing everything from external factors like bad weather and transportation problems to internal factors like poor communication and insufficient staffing. Step 3. Develop contingency plans. Now create a plan to prevent or mitigate the impact of each potential cause. Consider steps to avoid these problems, backup plans that you can put in place, and strategies to minimize negative consequences. For the event planning example, this meant confirming vendors, assigning team roles, arranging backup power, and being prepared to adapt. Step 4. Implement and review. The final step is to put your contingency plans into action and regularly review them. At the same time, keep a lookout for any new potential problems you need to consider. Review if your plans need to be adjusted. Remember, this is an ongoing process. These steps outline the process, but the reality is that implementing pre-mortem analysis effectively isn't always straightforward. In my experience, the biggest challenge with pre-mortem analysis is that it can be easy to get lost in negativity and become overwhelmed while analyzing the sheer number of potential problems. You may have thoughts like, "This is just making me more anxious. It's better to just hope for the best." I remember feeling this way initially. The key is to balance anticipation with action. Any such thoughts start going away when you start focusing on creating solutions for the problems. Use the analysis to empower yourself, not to paralyze yourself. Another common hurdle is underestimating the importance of pre-mortem analysis in favor of baseless positive thinking. You may have thoughts like, "I'm a positive person. I don't need to focus on failure. Everything will work out." Remember, this framework isn't about being negative. It is, in fact, about being prepared. It's about proactive risk management and taking control of your destiny. As you can see, pre-mortem analysis prepares us for what might happen. Now, we'll shift to preparing for how we think. Framework 3. Thought diffusion. Imagine gaining the ability to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. That's the essence of thought diffusion. This framework provides a powerful way to separate yourself from stressful thoughts, allowing you to respond with clarity and composure rather than being swept away by anxiety. Here's how to master thought diffusion and use it to regain control over your thought patterns. Step 1. Identify the thought. Become aware of the thoughts that are causing you stress. Notice the specific words or images popping into your mind. Do they involve worries about the future, regrets about the past, or self-doubt? Step 2. Label the thought. Once you've identified the thought, it's time to give it a label. Doing so helps create a mental distance between you and your thought. Instead of saying, "I am going to fail," say, "I am having the thought that I am going to fail," or "I'm having a worry thought," or "I'm having a judgment thought." Just this simple self-talk allows you to put the original limiting thought in a box and say, okay, I see you there, but you're not me. Step 3. Detach from the thought. Practice reminding yourself that a thought is not a fact. It's a mental event that doesn't necessarily reflect reality. You can use techniques like visualization to help with this. For example, imagine your thoughts as leaves floating down a stream or clouds drifting across the sky. Watch them go by without trying to hold on to them or change them. Step 4. Return to the present. Now that you've detached from the thought, it's time to bring your attention back to the present moment. You can do so by focusing on your breath, your body sensations, or the immediate task at hand. This prevents you from getting lost in the thought. I discovered this framework when I started undergrad. Adjusting to college was tough. Growing up shy, I often found myself alienated. It was overwhelming, and my primary thought at the time was, I'll always be an outsider. Here is how thought diffusion helped me. First, I had to do something about that broken record of a self-talk. So instead of letting it wash over me completely, I decided to label it. I'd consciously say to myself, I'm having the thought that I'm always going to be an outsider. It sounds simple, but it created a crucial distance. It wasn't I am an outsider. It was just a thought about being an outsider. Then came the next step of observing the thought. I started noticing how often it popped up, how intense it was, and the tightness it created in my chest. The real breakthrough happened when I managed to practice detachment. I've constantly remind myself that it was just a thought, no matter how powerful. It led to the realization that my experiences influenced it, but I gave it power. I'd tell myself that it's just a story in my mind, and I had the power to reframe it. Finally, I'd refocus. Instead of letting the thought paralyze me, I just observed it and let it pass with detachment and without any self-judgment. Then I'd direct my attention to noticing my breath or humming my favorite song. Gradually, I pushed myself to be more social, joining clubs, and even trying stage acting. Now, thought diffusion alone didn't magically erase my shyness. However, it gave me the power to manage it. It reduced the emotional intensity of those isolating thoughts and allowed me to break free from self-isolation. While thought diffusion was incredibly helpful for me, it wasn't always a smooth process. It's crucial to acknowledge the potential difficulties you might encounter as you learn this technique. One challenge I've observed is that it can be difficult to believe that it will work. I had strong doubts like, these thoughts feel so real. How can labeling them possibly make a difference? They made me feel skeptical to the point of giving up quickly. However, the key to overcome it is to practice consistently and to notice the subtle shifts in your experience. Over time, you'll start to see that you don't have to be controlled by your thoughts. Another hurdle is that thoughts can be persistent and repetitive. You might think, I label the thought, but it just keeps coming back. That's perfectly normal. The goal is not to eliminate thoughts entirely, but to change your relationship with them. Now, building on that, the next framework offers strategies for actively changing the way you interpret and respond to stressful situations. Framework 4. Cognitive reframing. Have you ever used binoculars? At first, the view is out of focus, but when you adjust the lenses, you can start seeing things clearly and accurately. Cognitive reframing is like adjusting those binoculars. It helps shift your perspective by challenging negative thoughts and replacing them with balanced ones. It's not about denying the existence of challenges, but about transforming your interpretation of them. It is a powerful framework if you want to shift from a perspective of helplessness to one of empowered resilience. You can think of cognitive reframing as a mental editor that meticulously examines the scripts running in your mind. It challenges the validity of your internal stories to produce a more balanced and constructive narrative. Here's how you go about it. Step 1. Identify the negative thought pattern. The first step is to be hyper-aware of the stress-inducing, recurring negative thought patterns. They are often subconscious narrative that shape your emotional landscape. What specific words, images, or scenarios consistently surface in your mind? Is it a narrative of inadequacy, a story of impending doom, or a script of social rejection? Step 2. Deconstruct the evidence. Now that you have identified the negative thought pattern, it's time to meticulously deconstruct the evidence supporting it. It is easier if you treat it like a legal case, demanding concrete proof and rigorously scrutinizing every assumption. Ask yourself, what specific evidence supports this thought? What evidence contradicts it? Am I relying on assumptions or facts? Am I focusing only on the negatives and ignoring the positives? Am I exaggerating the situation? Step 3. Construct alternative interpretations. Here you go about constructing alternative, balanced, realistic, and empowering interpretations. Keep in mind that this isn't about forced positivity. In fact, It's about exploring different perspectives and considering alternative explanations. One way to go about it is by challenging the absolutist language often used in negative thoughts. For example, replace always and never with sometimes and maybe. Instead of "I'm a failure," consider "I've experienced setbacks, but I've also achieved successes." Step 4. Integrate and practice. Cognitive reframing is a skill that requires consistent practice. Integrate it into your daily life by actively challenging negative thoughts whenever they arise. Don't just reframe in moments of crisis. Practice it during everyday situations. Tools like journaling, mindfulness, or cognitive behavioral therapy techniques help reinforce the reframed narratives. When I joined undergrad, casual group settings used to trigger paralyzing self-doubt and fear in me. I was driven by the fearful thought that no one here wants to talk to me. Here's how cognitive reframing helped me manage this social anxiety. First, I went ahead naming the thought. This created distance. Once I did that, I'd play detective, questioning the evidence behind the thought. Has everyone rejected me? Am I ignoring potential connections? To my surprise, the answer was no every time. Next, I'd act as a screenwriter, rewriting the narrative around my dominant thought. Instead of "no one wants to talk to me," I'd try "some people might be open to a chat." I'd make a conscious effort to ditch those always and never thoughts that haunted me. Here, I want to point out that cognitive reframing wasn't a cure, but it did give me a powerful tool to change my social story, one step at a time. Now, in my journey of applying the cognitive reframing framework, I've experienced that it can be challenging to question deeply ingrained negative beliefs. It is easy to think, these negative thoughts are the truth. How can I change them? What works for me is to approach reframing with curiosity and compassion. Don't judge yourself for having negative thoughts. Simply observe them and explore alternative perspectives. Another hurdle is that negative thoughts can be persistent and automatic, resurfacing even after you feel like you have successfully reframed them. That's perfectly normal. The goal is not to eliminate negative thoughts entirely, but to weaken their power and influence over you. And with consistent practice, you'll be able to create a stronger and more resilient mental framework. Remember, cognitive reframing is not about escaping reality. It's about seeing it with greater clarity and objectivity. It's about building a system of calm that empowers you to overcome life's challenges. In this chapter, we've focused on proactively preparing our minds for stress. Now, let's shift gears and dive into how we can manage stress in the moment. Chapter 2: Self-Talk and Momentary Regulation. While mental preparation builds a strong foundation, it can be challenging when stress arises unexpectedly. In this chapter, I will share frameworks for managing stress in the heat of the moment. Framework 5: Micro-Affirmations. Think of it as an inner coach that constantly reminds you of your strengths. In all my years of practicing it, I have found micro-affirmations to be one of the most powerful frameworks for building confidence and self-esteem. The key is to consciously choose empowering words and phrases to reinforce your strengths and capabilities. This will transform your inner dialogue into a source of unwavering support. So, instead of being your own harshest critic, you now become your most ardent supporter. This is how you can effectively use micro-affirmations in your daily life. Step 1. Identify your core strengths and values. Consider this as the foundation of your affirmations. Start by identifying your genuine strengths and positive qualities. Think about, what are you truly good at? What character traits define you? What do you value most deeply? What do people consistently praise you for? For instance, let's imagine that you're battling imposter syndrome at work. At this first step, you begin by digging deeper and asking yourself probing questions that eventually lead you to acknowledging not just your technical skills, but also your ability to collaborate effectively, your commitment to ethical work, and your capacity for creative problem solving. Step 2. Craft specific and meaningful affirmations. Based on the identified strengths and values from Step 1, it's now time to craft short, powerful I am statements. The trick is to avoid generic affirmations and make them specific and personal. This is important as it will make them resonate more deeply. Going back to our imposter syndrome scenario, instead of a broad affirmation like "I am confident," a better affirmation could be, "I'm confident in my ability to present my ideas clearly and persuasively," or "I'm a valuable asset to this project because of my innovative thinking." Remember, grounding your affirmations in concrete examples makes them more believable. Step 3. Integrate affirmations into your workday. You can do so by repeating these affirmations throughout your day, especially before, during, and after moments of self-doubt. The trick is not to recite them mechanically, but to engage with them emotionally. Say them aloud with conviction and visualize yourself as if you have already achieved your goals or embodied those qualities. In our example, you might pause before meetings to affirm, "I am prepared and my contributions are valuable." You might also do it during challenging tasks by reminding yourself, "I am resilient and capable of finding solutions." In fact, you should also practice affirmation after receiving positive feedback by saying, "This is evidence that I am a valued member of the team." Step 4. Living your affirmations. This is a crucial step that lets you cultivate genuine belief in your affirmations. Remember, without actions, affirmations run the risk of being just blind optimism and eventually failing. The trick is to take small, concrete steps that reinforce your affirmations. So if you're affirming, "I am a valuable contributor," actively participate in team discussions, share your ideas, and offer support to colleagues. Remember, consistently and authentically practiced micro-affirmations move beyond simple self-talk. They are a powerful framework for reinforcing your inherent worth and capabilities. One challenge I've observed is that it can feel uncomfortable to embrace positive self-talk, especially if you're accustomed to self-criticism. You might think, "This feels narcissistic. I don't want to be arrogant." Another hurdle is that negative thought patterns can be deeply ingrained. You might think, "I say the affirmation, but then a wave of doubt washes over me." Feeling this way is perfectly normal. Remember, affirmations are about self-acceptance and not about arrogance. The goal is not to completely eliminate negative self-talk, but to create a stronger and positive inner voice that can counterbalance them. Over time, this positive voice will become louder and more influential. Now that you have mastered micro-affirmations, it's time to turn our attention to a powerful framework that works like magic in managing immediate stress responses. Framework 6, STOP technique. Ever felt that rush of panic when you're under pressure? That feeling of your heart racing, your thoughts spiraling, and like you're about to lose control? We've all been there. But what if there was a simple, powerful tool to hit pause on that stress response? This is where the STOP technique comes in. It's a powerful framework that gives you immediate control when stress threatens to overwhelm you. So, how do you actually use the STOP technique? First, stop. Think of it as your first line of defense. The moment you feel stressed, you've hit pause, literally. Stop what you're doing, even if it's just for a second. The idea isn't to ignore the stress, but to interrupt its momentum and weaken the stress response. It's like hitting the brakes on a car that's starting to skid. So, if you are having a tense conversation, hit pause and consciously stop mid-sentence. Similarly, if you get a triggering email, do not respond immediately. Second, take a breath. This is such a powerful step that it might feel like magic. Your breath is your superpower, and the simple act of breathing anchors you in the present moment, interrupting the cycle of stress. So next time when you are feeling stressed, stop and take a few deep, slow breaths. Make sure you inhale deeply and fill your lungs before exhaling slowly and releasing the tension. To make it more effective, focus on the physical sensation of your breath. Feel your chest rise and fall, the air moving in and out of your body. This helps shift your focus away from the stress and back to the present moment. It's like rebooting your system. Third, observe. The next step is to take a step back and observe what's happening within you and around you. Become aware of thoughts swirling in your head, the emotions you are feeling, and the sensations you are experiencing in your body. This is about gathering information without judgment and becoming a detached observer of the environment within and around you. While doing this, you're not trying to fix anything, but solely focusing on noticing. Finally, proceed. This is the step where you reclaim control. Armed with the information you gathered in the observe step, you now get to choose how you want to proceed with intention. Maybe it's best to remove yourself from the situation, or to change your perspective, or to communicate differently, or just to let it go. Whatever it may be, it is driven by conscious decision and not by a stress-induced knee-jerk reaction. Imagine you are in a tense argument with a family member or a close friend. Here is how you can leverage the STOP technique to choose constructive communication and avoid impulsive reactions. First, the moment you feel the anger taking over, stop. Stop talking, stop pacing, stop gesturing. Even a brief pause can break the momentum. Physically stop. This prevents impulsive reactions. Next, take a few deep, slow breaths while focusing on the physical sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. This will calm your nervous system and give you time to think. Then, observe what's happening within you. Focus on your feelings. Is it anger, hurt, or fear? Also, observe the physical sensations, like a clenched jaw or rapid heartbeat. Next, observe what the other person is saying and what their body language is. Make sure not to judge while observing. Finally, proceed with your next move. Consider, what is your goal in this conversation? Is it to be heard, to resolve a conflict, or to understand the other person? Also, evaluate what words will help best achieve that goal and help express your feelings calmly and clearly. Also, take a call if it's more beneficial to take a break from the conversation and revisit it later. Now, I'll be real with you. Mastering the stop technique isn't always a walk in the park. You'll likely face challenges. Forgetting to use it is common. Practice regularly to make it automatic, and be kind to yourself whenever you do forget. Observing can be tricky as well, as it can be challenging to avoid judging your feelings. I've found mindfulness to be a great tool to overcome this challenge over time. Now that you learned the framework to actively intervene when stress arises, let's shift to a more proactive approach to staying calm even before stress hits. Framework 7, Mindful Observation. One of the most common outcomes of stress is that you become reactive and overwhelmed by constant chatter of your mind. But what if you could lessen the intensity of stress before it overwhelms you? Mindful observation provides this ability. It's a framework that helps you observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment, reducing their power and cultivating a deeper sense of inner peace, even when facing anticipated stress. I like to think of mindful observation as training my mind to be a witness, rather than a participant in the drama of my thoughts and emotions. Here is how you can master it. Step 1. Anchor yourself in the present. The core of mindful observation is bringing your attention to this very moment. Notice what's happening right now. What are you seeing? What sounds are present? What sensations are you feeling in your body? The key is to engage with the immediacy of your experience. Step 2. Observe without judgment. As you observe, strive to not be judgmental. Remember, thoughts are not good or bad, they are simply mental events. Emotions are not right or wrong, they are just feelings. Sensations are not pleasant or unpleasant, they are just physical experiences. Mastering this non-judgmental stance is crucial before moving to the next step. Step 3. Acknowledge and release. Here, you acknowledge the presence of thoughts, emotions, or sensations that arise during observation. Calmly notice them, but don't cling to them. Don't try to suppress them or change them. Simply observe and let them be before gently releasing them. This allows your attention to return to the present moment. Remember, mindful observation is a skill that strengthens with practice. Now, imagine you have a doctor's appointment next week and you're already feeling anxious about what the diagnosis may be. Here is how mindful observation can help. First, throughout the week, when thoughts like "what if the news is bad" arise, you observe them without judgment. You notice the anxiety they trigger in your body. Instead of getting lost in these "what if" scenarios, you gently redirect your attention to the present. This could be focusing on the task at hand, or the sensation of your feet on the floor, or even the sound of your breath. Then, on the day of the appointment, you observe your anxiety and don't try to fight it. You focus on listening to the doctor, observing their words and expressions. You stay present rather than being consumed by worry about the future. As you can see, by consistently applying mindful observation, you are able to navigate the week leading up to the appointment with less reactivity and more presence. Don't get me wrong, you still experience anxiety, but you don't amplify it with catastrophic thinking. Even if the news isn't ideal, you're better equipped to receive it with a grounded perspective, rather than being overwhelmed by fear. Chapter 3. Physiological and sensory grounding. So far, we've explored mental strategies for staying calm. But stress isn't just in your head, it's in your body. That's where this chapter comes in. Framework 8. Sensory grounding. This framework is about using your senses to bring yourself back to the present. Use the following steps to anchor yourself in the present through your senses. Step 1. Focus on 5 senses. These are sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Systematically explore each sense, noticing what you're experiencing in the present moment. This is about engaging with your sensory experience. Step 2. Use the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This is about creating a structured sensory exploration. Step 3. Engage with textures and temperatures. Pay attention to the textures and temperatures of objects around you. Feel the smoothness of a table, the coolness of a glass, or the warmth of sunlight on your skin. This is about deepening your sensory engagement. Step 4. Use a grounding object. Carry a grounding object with you, such as a smooth stone or a stress ball. When you feel overwhelmed, focus on the sensations of the object in your hand. This is about creating a tangible anchor. The biggest challenge I've observed is that it can be difficult to focus on your senses when you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, situations where your mind is racing and you can't concentrate on anything else. In such scenarios, the key is to start small and focus on one sense at a time. Remember, sensory grounding is not just about noticing your surroundings, it's about connecting with them. It's about building a system of calm that allows you to feel safe and present in any situation. There you have it. 8 frameworks that helps you develop the uncanny ability to stay calm in the face of stress. Now, check out this video where I share practical frameworks for thinking fast and responding effectively, even under pressure.